Hey, so last week we played 11 escape rooms in Nashville, Tennessee area down to Murfreesboro.
Yeah,
Don't know how to
nobody
say that
says it the
still.
same way. We asked
No,
several people how to say Murfreesboro, and a lot of people leave the R out.
most
And
of the people that live there don't say the R, but I'm like, you need to learn how to say the name of your
yeah,
city.
it's like February. Everybody
that's,
knows it's February, but nobody says it like
that's
that.
right.
Same
So we
thing.
played some rooms at Murfreesboro and Franklin, but we're just gonna all lump them all together to Nashville, Tennessee area, and we had a great time. Nashville is an awesome city. I was very surprised by how cool Nashville is. I pictured a much smaller city, but it was exciting. Awesome nightlife downtown. Um, Lots of good music down there. It was a lot of fun. So let's dive in, Bill. We're gonna do our top 7 rooms in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a good sign if we're doing 7. That means there were some great rooms there. So, Billy, do you want to start with your number 7?
Yeah, I got my number 7 of the Nashville, Tennessee rooms as the Blind Pig.
You even
The
got
safety
visual
room,
there.
visual. Yeah,
Nice.
because I don't know if you're doing graphics after we video these, but this is so you don't have to. The Blind Pig, had a blast with it. It was one of the first rooms we did that week. It was a lot of fun. It was a little cramped at times for how many? 4 of us did
Yeah.
this room. So, but it was fun. Had some unique elements. Loved the Blind Pig.
Yeah, it was a good room. I did not quite make my top 7, which is surprising because on a lot of reviews I've seen of Nashville, I've seen it as number 1 on some other blogs, but it did not make my list because I did not like it quite so much as they did, mostly because of lighting and the size. But I put as my number 7 Frankenstein at 60-minute escape games. The quality of the room, honestly, is higher than a 7 quality. The It's very high. One of the coolest props I've ever seen in a room is that Frankenstein room there at 60-minute escape games in Murfreesboro. Just an awesome room. I was a little turned off by some of the things outside of the room and just how dedicated to the rules their staff seems to be, and how they were a little I don't know what the word is, but they had a parking
Rigid.
that
Yeah.
rigid. There you go. They had a parking space for their owner right in front of the front door, and
Yeah.
only 2 people in the restroom at a time. You can't go to a restroom unless you sign the waiver first, and you can't look around while I'm giving you the instructions. Just all kinds of rules, and they need some training on how to put service or put customers first. Other than that, the rooms were incredibly good. Maybe a little glitchy on a couple Generation 2 locks, but great rooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. I'll jump to my number 6 then, and it's this
Hey,
Frankenstein.
there we get that 2 lines there. That's good.
Frankenstein. I think that's how it was originally. I mean, I think
It
that's how it was
works.
supposed to go originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agreed. The final prop element brought it from like not in the top 6 or 7, but that last 5 to 10 minutes of the room saved it, in my opinion, because there were some elements that was like, this is just almost mundane. It took us a lot of time to figure out some things that were just not interesting puzzles, but they were just kind of tedious puzzles. But that last element made it a really great escape room.
And the use of lights in that room is incredible. You walk in, you're like, it's way too dark to do anything. They're like, trust us. And they were right. The
Yeah,
use
they
of
knew what they're
lights and
doing.
how they would turn on at certain times was really cool. I agree. A couple of the puzzles turned me off, but great room.
Yeah.
Uh, my number 6 is the Grand Illusion at Extreme Escape Games. The Grand Illusion was a very fun room and had some great surprise elements that we were not expecting, jumped out and startled us. There was a laser room that was just incredibly fun to do. But the best thing about this room, and I think it's the case with all the games at Extreme Escape Games, is their brief and debrief is in this separate theater room that is just incredible. And actually, the game master does the whole room with you. And afterwards, he's quoting back things that were said in the room, funny things that happened, maybe some hints about some things that you could have done differently or done better. And he walks through it. It was the best debrief I've ever seen in a room.
I agree. You know, I think you bring up an important point. The added piece, like Frankenstein slid in your opinion because of the lack of that. The Grand Illusion was better in your opinion. So if you have an escape game franchise of some sort, if you have a business, I would encourage you to venture outside of your own little circle and find out other games that you can play and see what they're doing. Just right after I left Nashville, I took a group of people to Longmont, Colorado to play an escape room there. And I could just tell this guy doesn't play a lot of other people's rooms because his just he was friendly, he was welcoming, but his rooms just weren't awesome. And so
Yeah.
I think one of the great, like you're a pastor, one of the things you do so well is visit other church. Every time you go out of town, you're visiting somebody else's churches and you learn something every time you go that you can bring back to your own church and implement it. I think escape game owners, managers can do the same thing. And so that takes me to my number 5, The Grand Illusion.
There we go.
The series, the room was great, but some of the best moments, and I forget the manager's name that was helping us that night. Austin, was it?
Austin.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it was Austin. But some of the things that we remembered and talked about for the rest of the week was his interaction and how much he added to it. And they designed the room so that he would need to add to it. And he did it quite effectively.
I've talked to a couple owners since that experience, and I've told them, you need to go check out Extreme Escape Games because they've figured out some things with customer experience, largely in terms of team building. Like if I'm a business owner, I'm doing every room with my team at the Extreme Escape Games because they've just done an incredible job with the team building aspect. And I think more rooms need to tap into that.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Special Ops at the Escape Game. And you're going to start seeing a trend here of the top rooms in Nashville are at the Escape Games, in my opinion. And so the Special Ops would be the first one I'm going to list from that. Just an incredible room. It's one of those where you enter at what seems like in one world, and by the time you leave, you feel like you've walked through this like an entire time period, a totally new world, and the transition from one room to another room, and this awesome elevator scene and awesome technology, great use of videos, not videos that distract you from the storyline, but actually immerse you. They're perfectly timed. Just an incredible room. Everything I love in escape rooms, they captured in Special Ops. A lot of fun at the Escape Game Special Ops.
Yeah. So just to full disclosure, you're wearing an escape game T-shirt. Are they
I'm a fan.
paying you? Are they sponsoring and paying you, sir?
Not a penny. Not a penny.
You paid full price for your shirt.
That's right.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to number 4. My number 4 is Pharaoh's Chamber.
Great
Same
room.
place as Frankenstein. We did Pharaoh's Chamber right after Frankenstein. Glad we did it in that order because they stepped it up a notch with Pharaoh's Chamber. Some very unique elements, very unique puzzles, and it was a lot of fun. There's like multiple levels, multiple rooms. It was just cavernous how they had set up this room, and it just felt like if you have 4 to 8 people, you're not going to get too cramped. And maybe you're right at first, but then when you open up that new area, it's like, oh wow, now we needed these 4 people, we needed 6 people, and you're doing teamwork. And it was decorated quite nicely. It was very creative. So Pharaoh's Chamber was a blast. Highly recommend Pharaoh's Chamber. My number 4 in Nashville.
Good number 4. My number 4 is Gold Rush at the Escape Game. Just an incredible game. It's got a special place in my heart because it's one of the very first excellent escape rooms I ever did. I played a lot of lesser escape rooms, and when I played Gold Rush, that's when I got addicted. It captured my imagination. Incredibly fun puzzles, just totally out of the box ideas, and it introduced the whole idea of fun transitions from room to room, not just you open door and walk in, but you're going to transition in a fun way. Just an incredible room, and will always be one of my top rooms just because I love Gold Rush. We didn't actually play it in Nashville. We've played it in other rooms, and so that's one of the reasons why we could play only 11 games in Nashville and say we know the top ones, because we played a lot of the escape game rooms in other cities, but they also have them in Nashville.
Right. Okay. My number 3, escape games, The Playground.
Yes.
I thought
Yeah.
Playground, it was one of the earlier ones we played, and we had a fairly large group with it. So one of the things I loved about the Playground is it broke outside of the dark ancient theme. So many escape
Amen.
rooms go to, cabins, horror movies, just scary dark places, and the Playground is like, no, you start out in a elementary school classroom, and there's some like danger to it, there's stuff that could happen if you don't do this thing, but it's just like we're starting in your elementary classroom and you got to figure out some stuff there. And just a lot of fun. Playground.
Yep, incredible room. We've already talked about it. My number 3 is Pharaoh's Chamber. You already mentioned it for all the same reasons. I thought it was awesome. One thing that the people at 60-Minute Escapes do so well is they actually build up. And so the rooms are multi-level rooms. And Pharaoh's Chamber, even more than Frankenstein had an incredible use of the square footage they have. I mean, you're really high by the time you finish this room, and you're going up and down and over. Just an awesome, and the celebration climactic ending of Pharaoh's Chamber. It's one of those where you don't spend a ton of time in the final room. Actually get to experience the excitement of the final room incorporated in that final puzzle reveal. And they had really cool, just a ton of Generation 2 puzzles, almost no Generation 1 at 60-Minute Escape Games. Generation 2 puzzles where it's using weight or using lights or using different kind of things. Again, incredible use of lights. Great room, Pharaoh's Chamber.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to number 2, Special Ops, or Spec Ops, if you want to just go ahead and, the biz
lowercase there for the
Spec Ops. We've talked about this on our review of the room, but it started out where you feel like you're in a Middle Eastern bazaar, and it's just so greatly, and you move from one world to the next, like you would, just if you were in a Mission Impossible movie. Just so cool. We had a blast with it. We just kept saying wow through the whole room.
Yep. We're getting repetitive here because my number 2 is the Playground. I'm giving huge props for the lightness of this room. Lighthearted. It was fun. It was a bright room. The puzzles were exciting and unique. The transitions from room to room, fun, physical challenge puzzles. There was the initial puzzles in that very first room that you start out the Playground in are just a lot of fun, things that I haven't seen in other rooms, and using all your senses to figure out what should you be doing in this time. Playground has for a long time been one of my top favorite rooms.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna make you mad.
Should we drum roll?
I'm gonna break a rule.
Uh-oh.
You told me give top 7. I couldn't do it. I had to throw Gold Rush in there as a 1.5, and you already talked about that. So that's my 1.5. It was my second favorite in Nashville, but number 1, Ruins.
Yeah.
Second favorite room of all time, for my opinion. But there was just no question of all the rooms we did in Nashville, Ruins was the best. Just so creative, so well done. If you can get Disney to sign off, like you can put our name on an escape room, it is top quality escape room. It was creative, perfect, everything worked. It was just like, I can't believe we are actually in a room with this kind of element, stepping on stones and turning heads, and just like, wow, it was off the charts, the best room in Nashville.
It is the best room in Nashville, and in my opinion, it is the best room I have ever played, not just slightly.
Anywhere.
It is the best room I've ever played in my entire life. Number 1 on my list is Ruins. And if you are going to Nashville, maybe a place like Seattle or LA or somewhere, Orlando or something, has a larger number of great rooms. In my opinion, you've got to get to Nashville just to play Ruins at the Escape Game. It is an incredible game. And the Escape Game is not a storyline focused chain. I mean, a lot of the rooms have good stories, but it's not their primary objective. And I think that's a smart plan. But with Ruins, they pulled out a storyline that is engaging, it's funny, it's exciting, and you just feel totally immersed in this world that is totally a movie. It is not an escape room. You have exited this world and entered into Indiana Jones, and you feel like you're getting to do the things that he got to do and push the buttons he got to push and do the physical challenges he got to do. And there's some complex puzzles in there. And I love complex puzzles, but they're not forced complex. They're not hard for the sake of hard. They're hard because that's what you would expect in that environment. There's only 3 Generation 1 locks in this whole entire room, and that's because you're primarily just interacting with this room that changes in ways. Walls are moving, like items are adjusting throughout the thing, and you end up going through an area that you thought was just decoration, and just surprising, incredible room. Number 1 on my list by far, Ruins at the Escape Game.
I'm in full agreement with Ruins. Everyone in our group that day, and then others that we've told to go play it since then that have played it, just like, we can't believe that there was a room like that. It was Indiana Jones lived out, childhood fantasy.
And I will get back to Nashville just to replay Ruins, and I'll play it again. And I know all the answers. That doesn't matter. And I'm going to go through much slower this time, so I experience it more fully, because we rushed through it and we did it really quick. And I just want to see it all. I just want to do it again because it's that good. Well, that's our top 7 of the rooms in the Nashville area. If you want to see our reviews of all the rooms that we did, you can go to escaperoomology.net. escaperoomology.net. We're also on YouTube with all of our reviews. Check them out. All 11 rooms we did. Plus, we've done hundreds of rooms as a team. Go check out the reviews there. Thanks for watching.